If you use an iPhone, a Mac, an iPad, an Apple Watch, an Apple TV, or are simply a technology enthusiast, you're going to love learning more about your technology with your new favorite geeks over at Mac Geek Gab. Get your questions answered and have some fun along the way. Visit macgeekgab.com or search for Mac Geek Gab on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Don't get caught without having Mac Geek Gab in your rotation.
Hey all, today I want to talk to you about an oldie but a goodie. It is a voice recorder called Just Press Record, or better known as JPR. This is a super awesome voice recorder app that you can put on all the platforms. It comes on your Mac, or I shouldn't say it comes on your Mac, but you can get it for your Mac, your iPhone, your iPad, and your watch. It works great with accessibility features like VoiceOver. It's really well designed and easy to use, especially on your watch and on your iPhone. You can pull up the app, you hit the button, you record, and you're off to the races. Now, there's a couple really cool things about this app that I really like. The simplicity of it is amazing, so that's one thing. Another thing is you can go into the settings of the app and you can change the quality of the audio that you want to have it record in. So if you're just using your own voice notes just for your own personal use, you can make the file size smaller, something like an MP3. If you want to use it for work like doing podcasting or voiceover work, you can do that as well. And then you just change the audio quality to something higher, like a WAV file or uncompressed, something like that. So you do have those audio quality options. Another great thing is it cloud syncs. And so what that means is you can be on any one of your devices, and as long as you are logged into your iCloud account on all of the places, then it will sync all of your audio recordings all across using Cloud Sync. So that is a super great feature. Also, if you're out and about and you make a voice recording on your watch, later on, you can get home and you will have it on your Mac or iPad or any of the other places you're logged into. Another great thing about this app is it does voice recording audio, which is always great. And it also does transcription. So what that means is you can record your voice and it will translate into text. So that's a great feature too. And you can choose how you want this to work actually. So you can do just recording your voice, you can do just transcribing, or you can do both at the same time, which is a pretty cool feature that I don't know of most things that will do that. So it's really awesome in that regard. So this app is a voice recorder. It's called Just Press Record. Check it out. It's super inexpensive and it is a really great app. So check it out and enjoy.
Hi, everyone. I've been thinking lately about accessing apps with Apple and Android. How's that for A's? Do I get 4 A's? Okay, so the reason I've been thinking about this is because Apple has introduced a little bug. Let's get out that bug spray. And they are making it impossible to search your app library. Now, the reason you might want to do that is if you have quite a number of apps and you don't have them in folders. I'm kind of a folder fanatic, so I have a lot of folders and only 2 home screen pages. So I don't really have any trouble finding things. As I've talked about earlier, I tend to put apps I use most often on the edges and so forth. And so what I want to show you though is this little pesky bug, and then talk a little bit about the app library from Apple, and then go over to Android and show you how things are organized there. So I'm on page 1 of my home screen, and I'm going to go to the app library by swiping left with 3 fingers a couple of times.
Page 2 of 2, showing app library, search field.
Okay, now here's our nice search field, and it would be nice if you could actually use it. What happens is when I double tap it to open it, and then I type a letter, just any letter, or I even just touch the screen where I think a letter is on the keyboard, it locks my screen. It completely locks it, and it makes this absolutely non-functional. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to double tap.
Search field is editing, app library, insertion point at start.
And now I'm going to touch a letter.
Camp Do not disturb button.
Oh, man.
Show notifications. Do not disturb.
What? I'm on my home screen. That is no fair. So I cannot...
Screen locked.
Yeah, that's right. Screen locked. Thank you so much. So I cannot then access my app library. Now, Apple also in its infinite wisdom has decided categories that I can use to find apps. And sometimes it categorizes things correctly and sometimes it doesn't. For instance, I have a translation app and it puts it in the travel. And I guess that makes sense. If I'm going to go to a foreign country, I'll need a translator, so I'll need to travel. But I just, it makes it unwieldy. So I cannot currently search my app library. The only way around this that I found was to be in the search field, turn off VoiceOver, touch a random letter, hope it's the right one, turn VoiceOver back on, and then I have a list of the apps that start with that letter. Alternatively, you may be able to use a keyboard, I haven't tried this yet, or a braille display to enter text. That would probably be your only way around this pesky little bug. And so for the effectiveness of searching your library, it's not happening. But in case you want to access those random folders that Apple creates for you and try to find an app, it just may be simpler to ask the S lady to open said app for you. So now we're over to Android, and I wanted to show you a neat little setting that Android has that'll make it easier for you to find your apps library equivalent. So there are a lot of nifty settings that you can find by doing a search in the settings panel. And if you go to settings and type in home screen, you're going to find the home screen settings. And so within those, there are lots of cool features.
Show apps screen button on home screen, switch on, 6 of 14.
This is show the apps screen button on the home screen. So the reason that's cool is it puts a little apps button in the bottom right-hand corner. And so when you want to get a listing of all of your apps in alphabetical order, you can most certainly do that. So I'm going to go back home.
Home button, out, 1 UI home, reading and scanning, folder, in pager.
And now I'm going to find that little apps button.
Apps, out of pager.
And we're going to double tap.
Apps screen, page 1 of 5. Google, folder, 2 notifications, in pager.
So I have 5 screens, and at the top are the folders that I've created, and then there are the alphabetical listing of apps.
ARX, Assistant, Bard Mobile, BBC, Be My Eyes, Beats.
And so forth. And so now, if you did want to do a search.
Search, out of pager.
There it is. There's the search.
Search, edit box, showing English, US, QWERTY.
And now if I just type a letter.
GIF keyboard, T, Tango, T.
T, and I press the search.
Delete. Search. Keyboard hidden. T, edit box, search. Suggested apps show more. Contacts. T-Mobile Play, column 2, Talking Compass, Codery and Talking Translator, column 4.
There are my T apps. So it works perfectly. So that is great. Those are 2 different ways to access the apps. Either you can search for an app you're looking for, or you can use the alphabetical listing. So Android makes it real easy for you to find your apps. It doesn't artificially categorize them, and it also presents your apps in folders at the top of the screen. So I hope this is helpful, accessing apps on Apple and Android.
Hey there. So I am super excited to put today's episode together because I've gotten several questions about it after a recent appearance that I had on Double Tap talking about switching between Mac and Windows. So what I'm going to walk you through is how to set up a Keyboard Maestro macro group that will give you the ability to have your caps lock key switch its state between caps lock and insert, which does make a difference. Now, full transparency, Windows is not a 100% great experience. It's gotten a lot better with some of the other tips that I've shared throughout my journey, including disabling the keystroke control left arrow and control right arrow to switch between spaces. However, making this change to your keyboard automatically, in my opinion, makes a huge difference when switching between Windows and Mac. I'm creatively working on some fun stuff as well that'll make that even more seamless, or at least a slightly better experience for you, and give you some functionality tools. So check out Club Unmute to both download this macro group that I'm going to share with you and to stay abreast on some of the productivity stuff that we're going to be putting together with Keyboard Maestro. The macro group that I have has two macros in it. And the way Keyboard Maestro works is it uses the group system to group your macros into a folder. A group or a macro group can be enabled or disabled. If the macro group is disabled, then none of the macros will run in the macro group. Inside of the macro group that you can download, which is called Windows Switching Macros Keyboard Maestro extension. Windows Switching Macros has two macros inside of it. One that switches the caps lock key to a caps lock key, and the other that switches a caps lock key to an insert key. Both of these macros are triggered when Parallels becomes the active application. I tried setting it to when the Windows 11 virtual machine becomes the active application and didn't have the best of luck with that. So I just went ahead and set it to when Parallels becomes the active application. When Parallels deactivates, then the caps lock key is switched from an insert key back to a caps lock key. Now, I'm going to import these actions, but I'm going to show you what I want you to start with, especially if you've tried to set this up before, because I want to make sure that we have your Keyboard Maestro as clean as we can. First of all, we're going to download the file that's called, and this will give you the Keyboard Maestro macros. We're going to press Command O on this file, and VoiceOver told you that two macros were imported into one macro group, and that macro group is disabled. Now, you can skip this step if you want, but I highly recommend going through this process. If you press VO left arrow to macro groups scroll area and interact with this, what I then do is press VO end, and I press Command backspace. That deletes the macro group. VoiceOver did not state that to me, but if I press VO end now, I hear, which is a disabled macro group. We can talk about that if your VoiceOver's acting a little funky. Just reach out to me and we can help you fix that because it's related to the switcher macro group that you can disable, or you can figure that out after we go through the steps. So now I don't have this macro group in Keyboard Maestro anymore. That deleted all the macros inside of the macro group and the macro group itself. I'm going to press Command Q on Keyboard Maestro, and focus is put back on the Keyboard Maestro macro file that I'm going to re-import to Keyboard Maestro. Now, Michael, why might I want to delete the group and then re-import it? Honestly, because this gives you a fresh start and we're all on the same page. So I'm going to press Command O on this file. Now, there's a very important message there that I'm sure you've heard by now, and that is that the macro group is disabled. Keyboard Maestro is very context aware. So right now, because we haven't taken any action in the macro groups scroll area, nothing is currently selected. So we're going to press VO left arrow, macro groups, and interact with this. If I press VO end, I'll hear Windows switching disabled macro group. Press VO space on that, and that'll select it. And then stop interacting with this scroll area. You can press VO right arrow until you get to Enable or Disable Group button. And I do recommend setting a hotspot there because that'll let you quickly jump over to that button. We'll press VO space, and unfortunately it doesn't tell us, but this has now enabled the group. If you press VO home and then VO J, that'll start interacting with the list of groups, and then press VO end and you'll hear the Windows switching group is not in the disabled groups section. We'll press VO space on this, and now if we stop interacting and press VO right arrow, you'll hear a macros group. Interact with this, macros here. If you interact with the macros, you'll be able to observe the two macros that are in this macro group. You don't need to do anything because this will automatically occur for you because we shared this macro group, and now that it's enabled, this should work just fine. However, one of these I need to go finish resetting up because I deleted some things while I was preparing for this demonstration. So I currently have Change Insert Back to Caps Lock selected. I'll press VO space. So I'll stop interacting and press VO right arrow twice. VoiceOver will say, Macro Edit Detail scroll area. Press VO space on New Action button. If focus isn't immediately placed on this button, press VO end. Once you've done this, press VO Home and you'll hear Close Action Selector button. Press VO right arrow once to jump to the search field and type in shell. You may need to press VO space to activate this search field. Press Enter followed by VO End and you'll hear Actions Scroll Area. Interact with this action scroll area and VoiceOver will tell you Execute a shell script action. Press Enter because this is the action we want to add. VoiceOver reads you the name of the macro and will paste in the shell script that I have available to switch the caps lock key from insert back to caps lock. If you press VO left arrow twice out of the edit field, there's an option that says Display Results in New Window pop-up button. I activate this and then press VO up arrow once to ignore results and press VO spacebar. If you want to verify that this action will trigger when Parallels becomes the active application, you can stop interacting with this action, press VO Home, and then press VO right arrow. You're presented with the name of the action and then VO right arrow again, triggered by any of the following: add trigger, delete trigger, this application, and then Parallels Desktop pop-up button, and you can deactivate that trigger. That's how you set up the macro in the macro group in Keyboard Maestro to be able to automatically switch your caps lock key from an insert key to a caps lock key, and vice versa using Parallels. If you want to download this macro group and support the show, head on over to unmute.show and join the club. And if you're already a club member, remember, you can gift a membership as well. Thanks a lot and enjoy the rest of your Sunday.